Hare Krishna, dear devotees, thank you for joining. This is the final session of the Caitanya Caritamrita series. And we are on the 11th chapter of the Antya Lila. We'll go on to the 20th chapter, which is the final chapter of the book. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschati Deshtarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. So this is the Antya Lila conclusion. Antya means the end, also means the conclusion. Like you said, Siddhanta. And it is the heart of the Lord. This is a series where we attempt to condense the essence of this great gift that Prabhupada has given us for the benefit of all of you who have so kindly and consistently attended. Let us chant. Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda 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 Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Jaya Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. So as we closed chapter 10, the Lord's inner ocean of divine madness had reached its stormy crescendo. His every breath became a cry of love for Krishna. His body shivered like a leaf in the storm, and his voice broke with yearning. And his devotees, Swarup Damodar, Ramandrai, they just stood helplessly. They couldn't do anything. And amidst all this blazing spiritual sky, there was one star, one sun preparing to set. Hare Krishna. Is a crest jewel of the devotees. Who is this? Who is about to leave? This is none other than Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur. That's right. So, by the daytime, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would dance before Jagannath, roaring kirtan. And at night, what he would do, he would relish the pastimes with his very close devotees, Ramananda Rai, Swarup Damodar. Remember these names? We talked about them. And around him, shining intimate associates, Advaita Acharya, Nityananda Prabhu, and the humble saint known by everyone as Namacharya, Haridas Thakur, the teacher of the holy name. So Lord Chaitanya's servant, his name was Govinda. So one morning, Govinda took Jagannath Mahaprasad, very famous, lovely Jagannath Mahaprasadam, for Haridas Thakur. Now, Haridas Thakur was living in a small hut right on the beach, very beautiful, small hut. And he saw the old saint lying weakly on his back, chanting his rounds very slowly, Hare Krishna, softly. Please rise and honor this Mahaprasad of the Lord, Govinda asked. Haridas Thakur smiled faintly. I have not completed my rounds. How can I eat before I finish my chanting? Do you know how many rounds Haridas Thakur used to chant? Yeah, how many rounds is that? 192 rounds. Or no, it's 198 or something like that. Yeah. 192. It's 64 rounds times 3. 64 rounds at a good pace takes 8 hours. What is 3 times 8? How many hours is that per day? Because he would do a little bit faster than us. He would leave a few hours. He said, I've not, yeah, 192 rounds, that's right. And he said, but since you have brought Jagannath Mahaprasad, how can I neglect? So he offered some prayers and he tasted just a little bit and he continued to repeating Hare Krishna very softly. Now the next day, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally came. Haridas, are you well? You can imagine Haridas Thakur is much older, very elderly. He's lying on his back. And with folded hands shaking, he said, my body is all right, but my mind and intelligence are not, he said. I'm disturbed. My Lord, you're preparing to conclude your pastimes in this world. I have one request. Before you withdraw your mercy from our mortal eyes, please let me leave first. Let me depart. Can you imagine? Let me leave this body while gazing upon your beautiful lotus face, holding your feet upon my heart and chanting Shri Krishna Chaitanya with my tongue. Now, hearing these words, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's eyes filled with tears. You can imagine. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's eyes filled with tears. He said, Haridas, how can I live without you? All my happiness that I have here is because of my good company, because of your company. But the saint insisted, my Lord, if an ant dies, what's the significance? What is lost? I'm just an ant. So kindly grant this fallen soul your mercy. And then the Lord embraced him. And he said, tomorrow, after seeing Lord Jagannath, I will come here again. The next morning, beautiful Lord, blazing gold body. Let's try to picture this. Returned with his devotees, and Haridas again greeted them so nicely. And then he fixed his gaze. He knew his time has come. 2 bumblebees of his eyes drinking the nectar of the Lord's beautiful face. You can see Mahaprabhu is right here. And then he placed the lotus feet of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu on his heart. He took the dust of all the different devotees that come. He touched their feet, took it on his head. And then he began softly chanting, Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Shri Krishna Chaitanya. And his voice then faded, tears streaming down his eyes. And in that sacred moment, he gave up his life in pure remembrance. Namacharya Haridas Thakur ki. You can imagine that moment. What would have happened? What a blissful, amazing thing to witness. And something for us to reflect on, because our day will come too. We all have our day. Doesn't matter how old we are. At some point, that day is there. We can get inspired by his purity. So when he passed away, then the cry of Hari, Hari, it filled the courtyard. And the Lord personally lifted the divine body onto his lap. And he began to dance. His own body was trembling, tears pouring down his eyes, all the devotees crying and following, dancing and chanting madly in divine love. Who dances when somebody dies? You don't normally dance. But this is not a death. This is a celebration that we were fortunate to witness this soul teaching us how to do it. When a great devotee passes away, it is a celebration. Of course, we're crying because we won't have their association anymore. But at the same time, the world has witnessed someone of the caliber of Haridas Thakur. So the body of Haridas then was placed on a palanquin, and the great procession formed going toward the ocean. The Lord was dancing in front, and Vakreshwar Pandit danced behind, and the air was ringing with the holy name. And when they reached the ocean, the Lord took the body of Haridas Thakur and bathed him in the ocean waves. And then he declared, from this day, this sea, because of this event, this ocean, this sea, becomes a holy place of pilgrimage. Can you imagine? He declared the entire ocean purified now because Haridas Thakur's body is bathed there. Prior to that, it wasn't. It's a holy place. And with his own divine hands, Caitanya Mahaprabhu placed Haridas Thakur in the sand and decorated the bodies with the remnants of Jagannath, Jagannath deity, some clothing, silken robes, sandalwood, prasadam. And then he personally covered with sand the body of Haridas Thakur. And chanting Hari Bol, the devotees built the platform over the Samadhi and they continued performing Kirtan. They all took a little sand and offered to Haridas Thakur. You can imagine. Great saints, their bodies are not cremated. They just placed in the sand or in the earth. Because their bodies are not like our conditioned bodies. These are spiritual bodies, so we respect them. And then after bathing again in the sea, the Lord went to the gate of Jagannath Puri temple, Simhadwara. And then with outstretched cloth, he's a sannyasi, so he begged. He begged from the shopkeepers some prasadam. It is for the festival honoring Haridas Thakur, he would say. And every merchant brought out baskets and baskets of offerings, and soon there's a mountain of food was gathered. And the Lord, he organized a great feast. And he personally, you can imagine Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally serving each of the devotees. So you can see how much it meant to him. This is his event. You know how it's our family event? This is his event. And then he declared, he gave a benediction. Anyone who has seen the passing of Haridas Thakur, anyone who has chanted and danced here, anyone who has honored this prasadam, anyone who's even just put a handful of sand, will very soon receive the full mercy of Krishna. And then the Lord whispered, he said, Haridas was the jewel of this world. And now that jewel is gone. And once he started crying and dancing again. It's an amazing paradox. He's crying from separation, but his body's dancing. What is it? Is he happy? Is he sad? It doesn't matter. We don't need to put a label on it. It is divine ecstasy. So thus ended the earthly pastimes of this great Namacharya Haridas Thakur. And the Lord of love himself revealed the depth of his affection for his devotees. And he shows how the Supreme himself becomes a servant of his own servant. Now each year, remember Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, where is he living these days? In the Antya Lila? Which city? Jagannath Puri, that's right. Jagannath Puri. His final pastimes are all in Jagannath Puri. Jagannath Puri is in West Bengal? No, Orissa, right. But every year the devotees from Bengal would come. Every year. So this time they've come to Jagannath Puri for what? Big festival, Rath Yatra. So this time, Shivananda Sen, we talked about Shivananda Sen last time. He organizes these pilgrimages. Some devotees that take the lead, they organize logistics. He's one of those. So he leads hundreds of devotees from West Bengal to come to Jagannath Puri. he would bring along great Advaita Acharya, and Shiva, Advaita Acharya is the one who begged the Lord to appear. He'd bring along Shivas Thakur, he would come with his wife Malini, he would bring along Nityananda Prabhu, the Lord's dearest brother. So now on the road, Shivananda got a little delayed. He was lingering. He had to pay some toll. Even back then, they had toll routes. And sometimes it takes time to process the toll. And hours were passing. Other devotees were waiting under a tree. Nityananda Prabhu became hungry and impatient. And Nityananda Prabhu is a character. Everyone knows that, divine character. When he gets hungry and impatient, he gets upset. Where is Shivananda? See, when you take charge of a yatra, then you're in charge of everything. If you don't bring food, then a problem. Where is Shivananda? No food, no shelter. What's going on? I curse his 3 sons to die. Can you imagine? Heavy. Shivananda's wife, she bursts into tears. And when Shivananda returns, he hears and he bows his head. If my sons die because of this toll delay, so be it. And then he approaches Nityananda Prabhu, who playfully kicks him just like this. Just playfully kicking, kicking. And then Shivananda, does he become sad? No, he beams with joy. Says, now, my Lord, you have truly accepted me as your servant. And he quickly runs, arranges from some place for Nityananda Prabhu to rest, a house. He embraces it. And then what happened? Nityananda Prabhu says, come. And he embraces him. And his so-called anger was just love in disguise. Now, Shivananda has a young nephew. His name is Shrikant. And he's seeing this. He can't understand. He's like, what is going on? He runs away. He slips. He goes to Jagannath Puri. He reaches the Lord. He's still in his travel clothes. You know how we have our travel clothes and then you have to wear your devotee clothes? These have the same system there. Like you wear jeans first in their flight, and then when you go to the temple, you have to change, put on it. Anyway, so he was still in travel. He went straight in his travel clothes to the Lord. And Govinda, personal servant of Mahaprabhu, tries to stop him. Hey, you can't go on like this. And Mahaprabhu said, no, let him come. He looks like he's distressed. And the boy bows down to the Lord. And the Lord then asks him about each devotee by name. How is Shivananda? Is Advaita Acharya Prabhu coming? Is Nityananda Prabhu? He had a long list of names. You gently ask names. And soon the rest of the crew arrives. And they're greeted with warmth. And Shivananda then introduces his 3 sons. Shivananda has 3 little boys, little ones. And the youngest one, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu blesses all of them, but especially blesses the youngest one. His name is Paramananda Das. And you know how he blesses him? Very unusual. He puts his toe in the mouth of the child. Can you imagine how much sweetness, the whole sweetness of the universe is in the toes of the Lord? What a blessing Paramananda Das got. And when that happens, the whole family just swoons and swims in ecstasy. What an amazing blessing. Supreme Lord himself. So these things are unusual. If you read about it just like that, it's weird almost. It's difficult to fathom the nature of such pastimes. What's going on? The Caitanya Caritamrita describes these pastimes because in such a way, it's hard for us to understand. The language is very simple, but they arise from the deepest chamber of the Lord's heart, where the divine love, it forms and it takes an outward manifestation that seems irreverent, out of place, unusual. So who can understand this mystery of Nityananda Prabhu kicking his dear servant Shivananda sin, only to then bestow him the highest mercy? So such unusual things, they defy material logic. What appears as anger, what appears as punishment, is in fact overflow of affectionate grace. Sometimes we see in our families too. And then he gives it like a, and they were both laughing. It's kind of like that, but it's much deeper. because it's divine. So now, even though Caitanya Charitamrita is written in simple, almost childlike language, its meanings are so profound and intimate that it's considered, and Prabhupada says it, the postgraduate study after you learn Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam. Then only can you begin to understand the different pastimes, emotions. You see what Mahaprabhu is doing here. It is not, it looks like the activities of madman or somebody who has epilepsy or something, his body shakes, all kinds of stuff. And he doesn't know what's going on. But when Mahaprabhu has conversations, he defeats great Diggaj philosophers. So it's not like he doesn't know what's going on. He established philosophy. But now he's showing this is the essence of all that philosophy. That this divine love can only be approached through faith and through association of devotees. It cannot be approached through your own efforts. It cannot be approached through your own scholarly initiatives. No. It has to come through the mercy of the devotees who are practicing and who are touched by the Lord in the parampara. Very important. Famous wife of Krishna was very angry all the time. Satyabhama. Satyabhama in Chaitanya Lila comes as a devotee known as Jagadananda Pandit. So we meet now Jagadananda Pandit. We talked about him a little bit last time. He's one of the Lord's closest and most passionate servants because this is Satyabhama. His love burns very hot and pure. So now, the previous year, the Lord had sent him to Mother Sachi, his mother, with a cloth and some prasadam. And so Jagadananda Pandit had comforted her with stories of Mahaprabhu. This year, he returns to Puri with a large pot of fragrant sandalwood oil. Now, that's very expensive, fragrant sandalwood oil. It's infused with fragrance of flowers. And it's prepared in Shivananda's home. So then he gives this, he says, this oil, I got it to massage Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Govinda, as a servant, you take this oil, massage the head of the Lord in the heat, it'll cool him, it'll feel very, very nice. And so Govinda goes and he says, my Lord, Jagadananda sent this oil. No. Sannyasi does not use oil, especially scented luxury oil, forget it. Offer it to Lord Jagannath. Put in the lamps, you light the lamps, it'll be nice, fragrant aroma for the Lord. Offer it like that. So he goes back. He says, what's going on? Why didn't you offer? Oh, he says, no, then try again. 10 days later, Govinda mentions again to Mahaprabhu. And the Lord says, what do you mean? Should I now keep like a masseuse with me? If people smell this fragrance oil on the body of a sannyasi, they'll say the show of sannyasi, useless. What kind of luxury life? This is not acceptable. The next morning he tells Jagadananda, listen, kindly give this oil to Jagannath Puri temple. But Jagadananda, he doesn't take no for an answer. He flares up. He said, who said I brought oil? I didn't bring anything. He takes the pot and he goes outside and smashes it to the ground. That's this picture here. He smashes it to the ground. Now it's like a pot of this size. Actually, if you go out and buy sandalwood oil which is infused with scent, even a little bottle like this costs a lot of money. A little like flask, I know, even back then was selling for like $75, like 20 years ago, or must be even more. The good one, good stuff. Big pot like that, smashed it, forget it. And then what happens? After doing that, he locks himself in a room and he fasts. He says, I'm not going to eat anything. I'm sure you know some people like that. They get flared up very easily. 3 days later, the Lord knocks. Lord gives him 3 days to cool down. Knocks on his door. Jagadananda, please get up. Today, I want you to cook for me. That's all it took. It just melted Jagadananda's heart, a simple request. So he takes a bath, he bathes, he cooks fragrant rice and ghee and sabjis and cakes and sweets, and he decorates them with tulsi leaves, and then he waits. And the Lord returns and he sees nice banana leaf, he spread it very nicely. He says, spread another leaf for yourself. We'll eat together. Jagadananda says, no, my Lord, you eat first. And the Lord tastes and he smiles and he says, even when you cook in anger, it is so delicious. Krishna must be so pleased with you. You know how this is how Krishna used to tease Satyabhama. तुम गुस्से होते तो और सुंदर लगती हो. And she get more angry. Face gets all red. This is the divine pastime. See, Krishna is replicating his pastime. Different flavor, same persons. That's another sweetness. Like, you know how in movies they have these Easter eggs that reference other movies and things like that. This is kind of like that. You enjoy the movie so much more when you know what's going on. Differences. Oh, this is Satyabhama. Of course, it makes perfect sense. This is what Satyabhama did. See, that's another sweet layer of Chaitanya Charitamrita. There's a book called Gaura Kannu Desh Deepika, written by Kavi Karnapur. That book lists all the divine personalities in Chaitanya Charitamrita and maps them to who they are in Krishna Lila. We'll talk about Kavi Karnapur a little later in today's thing. So then, with stubbornness, Jagadananda serves the Lord again and again. Please eat more, until the Lord has eaten a lot more than he normally eats. Finally, he laughs and says, enough, Pandit. You have defeated me. And after washing his hands and everything, then he tells, now, Pandit, you must sit and eat in front of me. Then Jagadananda quietly distributes the Lord's remnants to Govinda and the helpers. And then after that, he takes prasadam himself. That's another thing to learn. Even if the Lord is insisting, the humble devotee eats last. He says, oh, okay, Lord told me, let me start. No. The highest caliber devotees waits until everybody has eaten, and they insist, no, you eat first. They're not the first in line. It's something, this is something, even though so many chapters in Chaitanya Charitamrita is all about prasadam, a lot of details, but you see the humble behavior that we can get loose to learn. See, so then he gave it to the servant of the Lord, he gave it to everybody else as attendants, then what's left he took. It's not like, मेरे लिए समोसा नहीं रहेंगे तो क्या होगा? ऐसा नहीं है. You know, it's not like that. So this is a humility. Now, Jagadananda Pandit, he very much longed to go to Vrindavan. And earlier the Lord had not permitted him. He thought that, Jagadananda Pandit get very angry sometimes, get in a mood and become maybe critical of others. So now Jagadananda Pandit kept begging through other devotees, through Sarup Damodar. Finally, he said, okay, fine, we can go. He said, travel carefully and go with armed guards. Because, that road from Varanasi and that whole area, especially when they see lonely foreigners mean from another state, Bengalis and like that, they tend to target them. And it says, when you reach Mathura and Vrindavan, then you stay at all times near Sanatan Goswami. Sanatan Goswami lives in Vrindavan. So Sanatan is the elder Goswami who is taking charge of the entire mission of the Lord, the preaching mission, the writing mission. He says, offer respect to everybody. But he says, don't imitate some of those local practitioners. Those local Babajis, don't imitate them. Follow Sanatan Goswami's rules. Some Babajis may be very renounced and all that. Don't try to think I'll know more than them and I'll follow them and forget about Sanatan Goswami. Don't. And he says, you'll see the 12 forests of Vrindavan, visit them. You will see beautiful Govardhan Hill. Don't climb on Govardhan Hill. Doesn't matter if anybody else is climbing. We do not touch our feet on the hill. The Govardhan Hill is Krishna himself. He bowed down. And then come back quickly. He added, tell Sanatan, I hope to come there also soon. So arrange a simple place for me. Mahaprabhu has sent that message. So beautiful. So Jagadananda Pandit then embraced the feet of the Lord. took his blessing, and he left. Then he reached Varanasi. Varanasi is on the way. Varanasi, he met Tapan Mishra. Tapan Mishra is a senior Brahmin who once hosted the Lord. We talked about him previously. And he also met Chandrasekhara Acharya, another early associate. So these are in Varanasi. We'll hear some of these names again and again. Tapan Mishra, anyway, we'll see what they do later on. Okay, these names. I know it's hard to keep track of so many names, but if you hear them again and again, we'll get a clear picture of who they are and what they do. So in Mathura, he reached, he found Sanatan Goswami, and together, you can imagine touring the 12 forests of Vrindavan with Sanatan Goswami and hearing the pastimes. Krishna did this here, he did the Ras Lila there. Amazing. And they would go out begging alms. And Jagadananda would cook in the temple. So one day, Sanatan Goswami arrived with a reddish cloth tied around his head. This has been given by one respected sannyasi in the area. His name was Mukunda Saraswati. So Jagadananda, thinking that this cloth is from Caitanya Mahaprabhu, was moved to tears. He thought this must be Mahaprabhu's cloth. But when he heard it came from some other sannyasis, then his protective love get flared up. It doesn't take much to flare him up. So he get angry. He said, "You, Sanatana Goswami, you are so dear to the Lord. How can you wear cloth given by any other sannyasi?" It's a little thing, such a little thing. But it doesn't take much to flare up Jagadananda Pandit. And Sanatana Goswami smiled. Says, your fierce loyalty to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that's my teacher today. I bow to you. And he resolved, he took it off, he gave it away. He said, I'm going to give this cloth away. And together they then honored Prasadam and they wept in remembrance of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Shri Gauranta ki jai. So after 2 months, the pain of separation was too much, and Jagadananda, he'd given the message to Sanatana Goswami, Lord is coming, prepare a nice place for him, and then he prepared to return. Sanatana Goswami sent some gifts. What gifts did he send to Mahaprabhu? He sent him a pinch of sand from Rasasthali. What is Rasasthali? Where Krishna, he would eat. He'd picnic Lila. Pinch of sand and a garland. And he distributed these fruits, special fruits called pilu fruits. This is what they look like. This is red berries, are called pilu fruits. Now, the thing with the pilu fruits is that those who knew pilu, you have to suck the seed very gently. Now, Bengalis didn't know how to eat it properly, so they would bite through them and feel like a hot chili sensation. It's a very unique fruit. If you bite it, it'll be like the hottest chili you've ever had. You're not supposed to bite it. So even when they would do it, because the Bengalis didn't know how to eat it properly, everybody else would laugh at them. This little thing became a pastime of the Lord. Small thing like this. And you get recorded in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Sometimes these small details, they really bring out the sweetness. It's not very significant, but it's nice, it's sweet. Now, coming back to Jagannath Puri. One day the Lord heard a song from Gita Govinda. Gita Govinda is written by Jayadev Goswami. Beautiful melody. It was sung by a Devi Dasi. Mataji, lady. Devadasi. They're called Devadasis. They dedicated their life to sing for the Lord. Dedicated woman singer. So hearing those words, just the lyrics, it's this ecstasy stormed through the heart of Mahaprabhu. And he didn't care who was singing. He was just moved so much by the words, because these words are written by Jayadeva Goswami, the great poet. He ran through the thorns and hedges, didn't care for the scratches. Now, his servant Govinda ran behind him and cried out, "My Lord, don't go there." What do you mean? It's a woman. It's a woman singing by herself. And the Lord at once stopped. And he turned back and he's holding Govinda by his shoulders. Govinda, today you saved my life. You saved my life. If I had touched a woman, I would have died. It's nothing against women. If you touch them, you won't die. But for sannyasi, it's worse than death. And he added, my dear Govinda, you please stay always near me. There's danger everywhere. So by this, he set a clear boundary for future sannyasis. Strictness. That sannyasis, renunciates, they should never place themselves where the senses can be stirred like this. Don't risk it. Of course, in this day and age, how is that possible? You can imagine how important this is. So then the associates who saw this, they felt, oh, wow, what a standard. And also relief at the strictness, that the Lord is so strict. We're in good hands. And also they're appreciating Govinda's quick care, quick thinking. Saved him from scandal. We talked about Tapan Mishra. Raghunath Bhatta Goswami was a son of Tapan Mishra, one of the 6 Goswamis, who had earlier served the Lord. Now, Raghunath Bhatt stayed with the Lord for 8 months. Sometimes he cooked, and everything he made tasted just amazing, like nectar. The Lord ate happily, and then he would give his Mahaprasadam to Raghunath. And when it's time to depart, the Lord told him, okay, you're going, don't get married. Stay Goswami, stay a brahmachari. Return to Varanasi, serve your elderly parents, study Srimad Bhagavatam from a realized Vaishnava. And then you come back again here. And you can imagine the Lord took off his own Tulsi neck beads and placed them on Raghunath as a blessing. What a blessing. The Lord, nobody takes off their Tulsi beads. But Raghunath, but you can imagine how close he is. So Raghunath obeyed this for 4 years. And then when his parents passed away, then his detachment blossomed. He returned to the Lord, stayed 8 more months, and then he received the final instruction. Go to Vrindavan. Remember the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan. Now it's time to go to Vrindavan. Live under Rupa and Sanatan. They are going to be your guide. So you can imagine the importance. Rupa and Sanatan are the chief Goswamis. And what they said, what they taught, what they wrote, there is a foundation for all our practice, all our philosophy. The chant Hare Krishna constantly, read Srimad Bhagavatam without stopping, Krishna will soon bestow his mercy. These are instructions for us. Read Bhagavatam as much as possible. Follow Srila Prabhupada's version of Bhagavatam. He's in line of Rupa Goswami. We are Prabhupada Nugas. He's Rupa Nuga. We just need to follow Prabhupada. He's given us in plain English everything. So the Lord gave him Jagannath's Mahaprasadam. There's a supari you get and a long tulsi garland. And so Raghunath, he preserved these as his deities. He worshipped these. And then he went to Vrindavan. He placed himself in a Rupa and Sanatan. He would serve them. And he was a great singer. So whenever he recited Srimad Bhagavatam, he was like just a cuckoo bird, so beautiful. And he would choke up in tears. One day, while resting, the Lord dreams of Vrindavan. And he sees beautiful Krishna curved in 3 places. Flute to his lips, his yellow silk flashing, his flower garlands swaying. He sees the gopis, he sees Srimati Radharani, the gopis are dancing, Krishna in the middle with Radharani. And this dream is so clear and so vivid. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu enters his joy, his tears in his eyes. And Govinda, his personal servant, wakes him up gently. The dream breaks. And the Lord feels as if his priceless jewel has been slipped from his hand. Then he's somewhat saddened, but then he said, okay, fine. And he completes his duties and walks to see Lord Jagannath. Now he's gone to see Lord Jagannath, and he stands behind this Garuda Stambha. You see, we have our Garuda Stambha here. That's the pillar. But over there, it's much taller. You can see that it's so much taller, and Garuda is sitting on top. And from Garuda Stambha, you can get a nice view, because Garuda Stambha, you can step up a little bit, and you can also lean on the stump and really, because he would faint all every now and then. So if he's hold on, then less chance he'll fall. Now, of course, the crowd is very thick. A local woman, a local Orissa woman, so desperate to see Jagannath. She's sure she can't see. It's a big crowd. She climbs on the pillar like this, and without knowing, she steps on the Lord's shoulder so that she can see better, to see above the ocean of heads. Govinda pulls her down and scolds her. What are you doing, lady? But the Lord turns and he praises her. He says her eagerness. Just look. How fortunate she is, Govinda. She was so absorbed in the darshan of Jagannath that she didn't even know where her foot had landed, where she's holding. I pray to be like this. Can you imagine? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the epitome of love for Jagannath. He says, I pray for such eagerness. I don't have eagerness. So then, of course, just a moment earlier, he'd been seeing Jagannath as Rajendra Nandan Krishna in his dream. So this incident snaps him back to external vision. And then he now sees Jagannath as they stand, Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra, and Nilachal. And then he returns home, sits on the floor. And then he takes his fingernail and he traces lines on the floor, lines in the dust. He's crying. Can you imagine? You know how when someone is in love, they do things like that. You trace the line with your foot, or you do things, you doodle. He traces the line in the dust, and he weeps. He says, I found Krishna, and I lost him again. Who has taken my Krishna? Where is my Krishna? Night comes, opens his heart to Sarup Damodar, Ramananda Rai. My mind had found Krishna, but now I lost him. My mind, it begs only one thing. The nectar of Krishna's qualities, his beauty, his flute sound, his touch. And deprived of him, my mind goes into 10 different states of anxiety, of sleeplessness, of agitation. I become thin, I become unclean. I'm babbling like a madman. I become ill. I get madness, bewilderment. It's a kind of death. And then he gets stunned. He stops speaking. And when he stops speaking, Ramananda Rai recites some verses from the Bhagavatam. And Sarup Damodar sings some glories of Krishna to make him steady. So now the Lord is still going through stuff. Remember, this is still same episode. Half the night passes, and then they gently settle the Lord in his bed. And Sarup and Govinda, they lie across the doorway, just as if they're blocking the door. It's living locks. And Ramananda Rai goes home. The Lord starts chanting loudly, Hare Krishna, very loud. And then the sound stops. What happened? Sarup checks. The 3 doors inside are locked, and yet the Lord is gone. Where did he go? Locked doors. We were standing there, the doors are locked. How did we fail in our security? Start panicking. Devotees run here and there in moonlit streets. Where is the Lord? They take these lamps. At last they find him near the Simhadwara, the gate of the temple. He's unconscious like this. His body has lengthened unnaturally, like his joints became loose. So he's like, you can imagine, joints are so loose that the legs are lengthened. It's amazing, very unusual. Arms and legs are stretched. His breath is practically zero, no breath. He can't even perceive it. And his mouth on the edges, foaming. Oh. His eyes have rolled upwards. You know how the eyes roll up, only you can see white when you open. This sight breaks everyone's hearts. They don't even know if he's still alive. No breath. So the devotees, sort of Damodar, they kneel down into his ears and they chant, Krishna, 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 into his ears. And after a long time, the name enters his heart like a spark, like those, what do you call? Yeah, what's that machine called? Yeah, defibrillator. It's like that. The holy name is like that. So he jolts like this and he shouts, Hari Bol, he says. And once his limbs contract and becomes normal, spring right back. And later on, when he was told, hey, Mahaprabhu, this is what happened, he says, I do not remember. I only remember that for one moment I saw my dear Krishna, a flash, and then he flashed away. Then on another day, something else happened. There's another mountain in that area called Chataka Parvat. It's not even a mountain, it's just more like a tall sand dune, not even a mountain. On his way to he would take his bath in the ocean. And in this mood, someone's buzzing, right? Okay. So in this, what happened? What mountain? He's taking a bath. And in this mood, he saw this sand dune. He said, oh, this is Govardhan Hill. Then he starts quoting Braj verses. He says, of all the devotees, this Govardhan Hill is the best. Haridasa Varya. There's a verse like that, very famous. For he supplies Krishna and Balaram, the cows and the cowherds. With what does he give? He gives caves, he gives water, he gives fruit, soft, sweet grass, so many things. And he starts running toward this sand dune, Chatak Parvat. Naturally, the devotees always have to keep up with him, so start running behind him, as usual. Saurabh Damodar, Jagadadhar Pandit is there. Gadadhar Pandit is a very tender scholar. And then so many other devotees, Ramai, Nandai, Shankar, all these devotees are there. Paramananda Puri, all the elders, and yes, they're following. Suddenly, the Lord stops. He's stunned. Ecstasy erupts completely. All his hair is standing like kadamba blossoms. And his voice, it chokes to gurgle. You know, gurgle? He can't even say anything. And of course, in his eyes, tears are pouring like rivers. So these are all different ecstatic symptoms of the Lord. So seeing his devotees, he comes back to his awareness and he tells Swarup, hey, who brought me here from Govardhan? I'd gone to see if Krishna is tending the cows. I saw him. I did. He had this flute on his lips and the gopis are coming and Srimati Radharani was arriving. They were going to go in a cave together. And guess what? They asked me, the gopis asked me to pick flowers for him. And then all you guys made all this noise and now carried me away and I don't know where we are. And he starts trying at this lost vision. Where did you bring me? I was at Govardhan 2 minutes ago. What's wrong with you guys? So what do these scenes teach us? First, they show how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is constantly living in this mood of separation of Srimati Radharani. Sometimes he sees Jagannath as Krishna Vrindavan. Sometimes he sees Krishna in Kurukshetra, which, not the Kurukshetra of the battlefield before the battle with Arjuna. The other Kurukshetra in the eclipse when, the Rath Yatra pastime takes place. And he's constantly absorbed in these things and he's torn between them. Now, another thing with this pastime is it teaches us guardrails. like what kind of etiquette we should follow. Anything that is improper, like, he was saved by his servant. He stopped instantly. He didn't realize there's a woman there. That's important for us to learn. And third is the power of the holy name. But when the signs of, like, as if the Lord was gone, when they show up, the holy name is always the one that brought him. Remember, even as a baby, he would cry and the holy name would make him settle down. The holy name was emphasized by all these pastimes. And finally, it shows the role of devotional guardians. It's always good to have devotees with us, those who can help us, prevent us from doing the wrong thing, who are our guardians. Govinda was his guardian. It's to show the structure of it, that is important. This is known as the night of the locked doors. Now, there's a wonderful devotee by the name of Kalidas. He was the uncle, very simple, very liberal uncle of Raghunath Das Goswami. Now, he had a very unusual vow. He's known as Kalidas, seeker of remnants. He served devotees of all social levels, doesn't matter. Brahmanas, non-Brahmanas, he didn't distinguish between them. And he would humbly beg the remnants. After they've eaten, he would want to ask, and he would beg. It's not that he would steal it, he would beg. Please, whatever is remaining in your plate, can I eat it? And if they refuse, then he would steal. Beg, borrow, steal, right? So for him, it was beg or steal. So if he refused, then he would wait. And then when they left the plates behind, then he would collect the plates, leave plates, and he would lick it off. There's Kalidas. So there's a devotee by the name of Jhadu Thakur. He was a great devotee, but he came from a family of gardening community. He's a gardener. Gardeners are not considered very high level people in terms of caste. But Kalidas, he brings mangoes to Jhadu Thakur. My dear Jhadu Thakur, for you and your wife, I got these mangoes. He bows and asks only for their mercy. And then Jhadu Thakur would say, yes. He would quote that devotion is the main thing, not birth. That's a true ornament. But look at me. I don't even have devotion. I don't even have a good birth. I'm the lowest of the low. So don't consider me a devotee also. So after Kalidas leaves, Jhadu Thakur takes the mangoes. And then his wife later on tosses the mango peels and the seeds. Then Kalidas is hiding nearby. He didn't go home. He's hiding in the bushes. His mouth is watering for not the mangoes, for the peels. Because now they've been touched by the great devotee. You can imagine. This is his heart to receive the dust of the lotus feet of the devotees, the water that has washed their feet he would drink, and the food remnants. Three powerful servants of Prem. Scriptures talk about this. You get these three of great devotees. It's hard for us to fathom these things, but this is in the scriptures. He understood the scriptures, and you run for it. See? Now, Kalidas, he reaches Puri, Jagannath Puri, to see the Lord. And he reaches the steps. There's 22 steps of Simhadwar going to the temple. At these steps, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu washes his lotus feet himself before he enters the temple. Kalidas gathers that water in his hands and he drinks it. Now, Mahaprabhu had ordered nobody should drink this water. And he stops Kalidas. And only after a few palms he says, in effect, your deep faith in the Vaishnavas has been fulfilled. Okay. And he sees the quality of Kalidas' heart. And he gives him a rare mercy. So later that day, the Lord, even without being asked, he tells Govinda, take my Mahaprasadam and give it to Kalidas. Can you imagine? Otherwise, Lord doesn't give like that, never. But because Kalidas, you see, he was consistent and insistent with his humility. He didn't say, take no for an answer. So the lesson is spoken plainly, that if you want the goal of life, then honor Vaishnava with chishta, without hesitation. The story of Uchishta is also famous in Bhagavatam. Anybody know which famous story in Bhagavatam? That's right, Narad Muni. That's right. Narad Muni, he said, in my previous life when I was a little boy, the only reason I became a devotee is because I took the remnants of these great Bhakti Vedantas who had come to visit. And we got to serve them for Chaturmas. And with their permission, I would take. And because of that, I got so purified, now I'm Narad Muni. Not my own merit. So this is not something that was invented recently. It's eternal principle. Yes. This is how you honor Vaishnavas, and this is how you get their mercy. It gets transmitted through this way. So again, Mahaprabhu, you know what he does, right? He goes to the gatekeeper. This time he goes to the gatekeeper at Jagannath temple. Hey, do you know where is Krishna? Where is my Krishna? And the doorkeeper is very humble. He replies, come, I'll show you. He takes him. He knows this person is a madman, but he knows this is the Lord also in his madman roop. Come, I'll show you. And he leads him to this main viewing hall of the temple of the Lord. It's called the Jagmohan Hall. See? And from behind the Garuda Stamba, Lord Chaitanya sees a vision of Jagannath. Now this time he sees Jagannath, but Jagannath is a specific way, but he sees the threefold bending form. And a flute is raised to his lips, like this. See? Murli Adhar. Murlidhar. So there's a special offering that happens. It's called Gopal Vallabha Bhog. You know how Jagannath offered so many bhogs. This particular one is called Gopal Vallabha Bhog. And the name is called Adharamrit. Adharamrit means the nectar of Krishna's lips. Now think about the intimacy of this particular. The nectar of his lips. And Aarti is happening, the offering is done, then Aarti concludes. And the Lord then takes some of that prasadam he's given and he tastes, he's overwhelmed. He says, where does this taste come from? It has been touched by Krishna's beautiful lips. You know, the Lord keeps repeating. He says, only by great fortune can one receive even a particle of this special prasadam of the Lord. He says these ordinary ingredients taste extraordinary because they've been touched by the sweetness of Krishna's lips. That sweetness has entered into their food. And then he later distributes that to Paramananda Puri and other devotees. And everyone becomes mad with joy. So then later that evening, the Lord is sitting with his companions and the Lord asks Ramananda Rai to recite. Now Ramananda Rai, he knows the mood of the Lord. So he recites a verse praying for the nectar of Krishna's lips, which removes the lamentation and makes one forget all other attachments. This is there in the Bhagavatam. And then the Lord responds with Srimati Radharani's anxious verse. She also has a verse of anxiety. That nectar of Krishna's lotus lips is only received by many, many lives of pious activities. It eclipses any heavenly nectar. And that her mouth is longing for that nectar. And the Lord speaks in Radharani's mood, unpacks the mystery. He says, Krishna's lips agitate all the beings, increases the divine desire in their heart. For those who are fortunate, it makes you forget all the lesser happiness. There's no happiness greater than that. And it draws away your senses like a magnet. Even Krishna's flute, which is made of a dry bamboo stick, is made conscious by those lips. And the bamboo flute of all people gets to drink the nectar before anybody else. And the flute is boasting. The flute is boasting and it says, give up your fear, give up your shame, come and drink like me. Look, I'm shameless. And the gopis, they feel this paradox. The nectar is theirs. This is my nectar, it's my adhikar. I'm the lover of Krishna. And yet this rascal flute is tasting it first. So they burn with separation. But then that separation is their own sweetness. They're conquered by that sweetness. So the Lord concludes that this lip nectar is supremely rare. And when these so-called qualified people, they refuse it, they've wasted their lives. And when these so-called unqualified people get it and accept it, they must have done some hidden austerity. So the prasadam of Lord Jagannath, if we understand the intimacy behind the prasadam, we'll accept it with that much reverence and respect. And it'll affect our consciousness that much more. Then he hears another famous verse. What austerities this flute bamboo have performed. And he keeps thinking of that. And he thinks of the fragrance of the breath of Krishna. Do you know what the nectar of devotion describes the fragrance of Krishna's breath smells like? Smell of honey. You know what honey smells like? Especially the fragrant honey which comes from the fragrant flowers. Right? It says Madhugandhi Vibho. Right? Of course, this Adaram Madhuram is also nice. Huh? But there's another verse. Madhuram Madhuram Vadanam Madhuram. That's in nectar of devotion. It describes the sweetness of his breath. Which other tradition gives us so much intimate knowledge of the Supreme Lord that we know what his breath smells like? Okay, coming closer to the end. Yeah, Madhukandi Vibho, Adaram Madhuram, Madhuram Madhuram. It's just full of Madhuram. Yes, that's right. The breath of the Lord, the honey. So now, Jagannath Puri is just blessed with the touch of the Lord. And every night he's enjoying these beautiful verses. His love every now and then explodes into a volcano, yet it's gentle. It rises and falls like the tide. It's big. So we're in chapter 17 now. Chapter 20 is the last chapter. This chapter, chapter 17, shows one of the most striking nights of his ecstasy and his ecstatic transformations. And why our tradition calls it the limits of love, parakashta, prem ki parakashta. So one night they speak about Krishna for hours and hours. And Swarup Damodar, who knows the heart of the Lord, he would pick specific verses to go with the theme of the Lord's mood. Very expert like that. And Ramandarai would offer, Ramandarai knew all the songs composed by all the expert poets, Chandidas and Vidyapati, and especially Jayadev Goswami's Gita Govinda. That's the one that the Lord goes really mad for. And the Lord himself would recite a verse and he would explain it through his tears. You can imagine he's trying to explain the meaning of the heart of the verse and tears are coming from his eyes. How fortunate those are sitting in front of the Lord to get that. Of course, Govinda lies across the doorway like a guard, and inside the Lord is chanting. Suddenly, the Lord hears something. He hears the flute sound of Krishna. In that instance, he runs to meet Krishna. The doors are bolted, the walls are high. But of course, you know how you have those walls, but there's no roof. You have a wall and there's no roof. It's just kind of courtyard kind of thing. So even though the doors are bolted, the Lord in ecstasy crosses 3 walls. He jumps over them. And he falls down among the cows. There's like grass, there's cows near the Simhadwara of the temple. And when the chanting stops, Govinda alerts Swarup Damodar. They take the torches, and the devotees are looking, where is the Lord? And they find him in the cowshed. He's fainted. Again, but this time his arms and legs are not stretched out. They've retracted his body like a tortoise, a turtle. Kurma. It's called the Kurma Akar of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Wow, how amazing that must be looking. So look at his beautiful limbs on the altar. Now he takes it all the way in where the hands even you don't see, inside his body. And his skin is erupting, with the hair standing on end. And foam again gathering in his mouth. Tears, torrents. And his body looks round and great, like a pumpkin almost. It's described as a pumpkin, actually. What? The cows are sniffing the pumpkins. And they refuse to move away. They love the fragrance so much. They can't leave. The cows are all crowding around. What is this nice pumpkin? The devotees carefully lift him. Now you can imagine the turtle form. And they carry him home. And what is the solution? Chant. Chant. That's the solution of everything for the Lord. If you have Gaur-Nita in your home, the best way to serve Gaur-Nita is to chant Hare Krishna. Whatever mood he's in, he'll be in a better mood if you chant. You see, and he'll bless you. You don't need to do anything else for Gaur-Nita. Other things are all nice. That's all bonus. But chanting you must do. See? And then his body normalizes. Oh, where have you brought me? It's like a standard question nowadays. Like, haven't you heard this? I heard the flute. I went to Vrindavan. Krishna signaled Radharani to a kunj, to a bower. I followed and I heard the music of their ornaments. And the sweet exchanging, they're giggling, they're laughing. And then you guys, your noise pulled me out. Again, it's their fault only. Pull me back, and then, I woke up. What is this? My ears are thirsty. They're parched. They're dying of thirst. Please speak something. So then they would speak something. Chapter 18. It's a full moon night in autumn season. So this is, right? Full moon night in autumn is very beautiful. And it's in Jagannath Puri by the oceans, shimmering. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is living in the waves of separation of Krishna. And what happens next is one of the most dramatic rescues of this Chaitanya Charitamrita. Now the group, they're wandering, they're chanting, they wander, they wander and move around. And they go to this temple known as Aitota Temple. So the ocean is shining silver because of the moon. And in ecstasy of remembrance, the Lord thinks the moon on the water, this has to be Yamuna, even though it's the ocean. And he runs and leaps into it. He runs so fast, nobody realized which way he went. They couldn't figure it out. And then he faints in the ocean. So now he's carried like a dry stick floating. Sometimes floating, sometimes he sinks in the water, being tossed around. Is completely absorbed in the water pastime of Krishna and the gopis in Yamuna. And the waves pull him eastwards toward Konark. You know Konark? The sun temple in Konark. He gets put all the way towards Konark. So you can imagine, it's very far away. Devotees are searching through the night. Full moon is there, but it's in the water. Where are we going to go? It's a race through Puri. They're looking, temple of Jagannath, Gundicha temple. There's a lake there, Narendra Lake. Is he there? No. Is he at the Chatak Parvat? No. Is he Konark? Let's check Konark. No, it's not Konark temple either. They're checking until dawn, the sun rises. And the hearts are breaking. Where could he have gone? I know usually he makes all kinds of trouble, but this time we can't see him. Now, they're walking, looking for him at the sea, on the beach. They meet a fisherman. Fisherman with a net on his shoulder, and he's acting very strange. He's laughing, he's crying, he's dancing, and all he can say is, Hari, 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 Hari. That's all he can say. He says that he pulled up a corpse from the ocean, human corpse, and he touched the corpse. Because he touched the corpse, the ghost entered into him. Now he describes, he says, a dead body, the body is like all long and slack, and joints are loosened, eyes are open and rolled up. And sometimes the body is making sounds, sometimes unconscious. So he says, I need an exorcist. You know, exorcist? Yeah. Ghostbuster. Yeah, to remove the ghost. He says, I don't know what has happened. So then Sarup Damodar, he says, oh, I'm exorcist. I'll do exorcism. He said, can I remove the ghost? And he places his hand on the fisherman's head and he chants Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Gave him a few tight slaps. that. And the man, he calms down finally. There's no shortage of entertainment with Mahaprabhu. Then Sarup Damodar explains, there is no ghost. You touch the body of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sri Krishna Chaitanya. He's the Supreme Lord. Touching him has awakened love of God in you. You don't know what that is, so you don't know how to handle it. The ecstasy you feel feels like a possession, like you're possessed. You're the most blessed, you're not possessed. And then relieved, the fisherman leads them to the Lord. Here, they find Mahaprabhu's divine body lying on the sand, bleached by the sea. His skin is slack from this ecstasy. He's covered from head to toe in sand. Because of the sand and his wetness, lifting him is impossible. He was really tall. He's kind of heavy. They couldn't do it. So then they changed his wet cloth, they lay him on a sheet, and then they gently gathered around his ear to administer the medicine. Only one medicine they know. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram. Suddenly he sits up with a great cry. Bones pop back in place. Everyone used to this system now. And he comes half external consciousness. He said, I saw Yamuna. Krishna and Radha, they're there with the gopis enjoying water pastimes. And Krishna plays like a great elephant chief in the water, in the splashing contest. And Radharani, she held his neck and floated like a lotus with Krishna. And he multiplied himself for every gopi. And they were swimming. All these details he talked about. So you can imagine, my mind was overflowing with joy, he said. And all of you made noise and you woke me up again. Where is Yamuna now? Where is Vrindavan? Where's Krishna and the gopis? You guys broke my happy dream. And Sarup Damodar then explains, my Lord, you thought this is Yamuna, it's the ocean, and you jumped in. And the wave carried you all the way here to Konark. And this fisherman, he put you in his net. You can see the fisherman caught you in his net. And now by your touch, he's ignited by love for Krishna. So what does this pastime teach us? It teaches us that ecstasy moves matter. In separation, the Lord, he rules, he overrules our perception. The ocean becomes Yamuna, and the boundary between Puri and Vrindavan dissolves. And we realize actually it's one. That's the message. Actually, you should not distinguish between these great holy places. Vrindavan is the same as Jagannath Puri. That's what Mahaprabhu is teaching us. Another point, touch with the Supreme Lord awakens bhakti. Just simple fishermen. Fisherman is not particularly elevated, profession, killing fishes, eating fish. The touch of the Lord purified. Nice stories. Now at chapter 19, almost toward the end. The Lord in Jagannath Puri stays in a room known as the Gambhira, a very serious place. He's in the mood of Vipralambha. Vipralambha means separation from Krishna. Around him, he has his closest associates. You should know some of these names now. We've said them many times. Sarup Damodar, Ramananda Rai. His personal servant name is Govinda. That's right. And into this scene walks Jagadananda Pandit. Jagadananda Pandit, mostly stays in Navadvip with the news and prasadam. Jagadananda Pandit is who in Krishna Lila? Satyabhama. That's right. So we know that Lord Chaitanya would send with Jagadananda Pandit his mother, he would send something to his mother, usually a cloth from Jagannath Puri and some Mahaprasadam. And he would say, please, you touch her feet on my behalf. That system is also there. And tell her, I come daily in my heart, my dear mother, to your lotus feet. And when you desire to feed me, I come and accept it in my heart. So even as a sannyasi, he remained as a jewel among sons because serving his mother. He's steady at Nilachal, but he didn't forget her. So now, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is feeling, the main feeling is a storm of separation. And he's teaching us how to develop separation from Krishna. Separation is more intense than any other kind of love. He would say, where is Krishna, moon of Nanda's ocean, with peacock feather, flute, and lightning yellow dress? And he praises the nectar of Krishna's hand that cools the maidens of Vraja, the gopis. And then what happens is interesting. He alternates between theology, it's like philosophy, and heartbreak. He would talk deep philosophy and then he'd say, I'm so heartbroken. He'd get in a mood which is the epitome of that feeling. And he would blame misfortune. I'm so unfortunate that the fruit of my sins has ripened. What sins the Lord committed? So you see, he's swinging between the feelings and also teachings. He's teaching us. We need to be cognizant of our sins that come in the way of our progress. So he's reminding us, my misfortune is my sins are coming in the way. He's reminding us to not perform sin and not to perform offense. Offense is heavier than sin also. And so I have to be careful about not performing aparadha to Vaishnavas, an offense. Sin. And he said, the fruit of my sins is ripened. And he would sob and he would chant, oh Govinda, oh Damodar, oh Madhav. And then they would settle him in the Gambhira and he would chant all night. And he would look, now it's completely dark sometimes, no lamp also inside, small room. And he would look for the door like this and he would rub his face against the wall. The wall is not particularly smooth. He rubbed his face, his nose, his cheeks, his lips against the walls, making a sound, a grinding sound. And blood would mark the stone of the walls. Like streaked blood on the walls. Wow. And then at dawn in the morning, then Sarup Damodar and Govinda, they would come into the lamp. And they're like, what happened here now? How can you be streaking blood across this like this? Look at your face. And the Lord says, no, I wanted to go out to find Krishna. I could not find the door. I was searching for it with my face. So then they said, we got to do something about it. So then another devotee, Shankara Pandit, would sleep at his feet. And then the Lord would rest his legs on Shankara, who would keep a vigil to prevent him from doing that again. So it is getting very serious. So on the full moon of Vaishakha, the Lord walks with his companions in the garden. The breeze is a teacher showing creepers how to dance. And he explains Radharani's verse that Krishna's 8 lotus-like limbs emit a camphor mixed with lotus flower aroma. So he's reminding us what Krishna smells like. See? In that intoxicated state, his eyes dark like bees. And then he moves from tree to tree, chasing the scent he cannot catch. So you can see now the depth of his separation is getting very deep. So midnight, we would rub his face on the walls. It was getting a bit too much. Night after night, Mahaprabhu sits then now. So then the devotee said, let's engage him in more katha. So they would do Gita Govinda, they would recite verses from Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishna. And above all, now we're at last chapter, chapter 20. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sat and wrote himself something that they would enjoy reciting with him again and again. 8 verses. So the entire chapter 20 is known as Shikshashtakam. The Shikshashtakam that he himself composed. For 12 years, he moves in these waves of tribulation, lamentation, humility, anxiety. The Shikshashtakam we all know. He starts with Chetadarpanam, Chetadarpanamarjanam, Bhavamahadava Nirvapanam. They worship the golden avatar. Then he talks about how sinful habits they go away when you glorify the name. Nam Namakari Bahudanija Sarvashaktis. But you have so many names, you've poured all your potencies, but I'm so unfortunate, I have no taste for them. Then he talks about famous Trinadada Pisuniche in a verse, lower than the straw. So we know these verses. Then he moves from that to Seva Bhav. I don't want wealth, I don't want followers, I don't want liberation also. Na dhanam na janam na sundaram. Then it goes to the next level of separation. Govinda Virahena me. Even a moment is like 12 years or more. So you can see how even the Shikshashtakam progresses, gives us the foundation of the philosophy, the holy name, how we need to act, and then his mood of separation kicks in. See? And then he says, let Krishna embrace me or break my heart by not being present before me. He alone is the Lord of my life. So Kaviraj Goswami closes this chapter by telling about the Lord who wrote these 8 verses. And then he personally tasted them again and again to show how deep this ocean is. That even Ananta Dev, he cannot reach the shore of the ocean of the depth of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teachings. And so he offers this summary of Antya Lila, and he bows down and he bows out, placing everything at the feet of Madan Mohan, Govinda, and Gopinath, and at your feet as hearers. Bring the dust of your feet, those who hear Chaitanya Caritamrita, go on his head. So this is how he ends Chaitanya Caritamrita. Okay? So, it's the quick overview. We walked from Adi Lila to Madhya Lila to Antya Lila. Moods are so different. Adi Lila gave us the map, the identities of Gaur and Nityananda, the purpose of the avatar, the primacy of the holy name. He would debate Keshav Kashmiri, so many nice things. Madhya Lila showed the method. Lord empowering his associates. Rupa and Sanatan receiving the full science. Madhya Lila had all the science that Rupa and Sanatan got. And the victory of the holy name in all the assemblies. We learned so much about etiquette in Madhya Lila, what to do, what not to do, the sweetness and the uncompromising mercy of Mahaprabhu. And then Antya Lila, oh, if we understand Antya Lila, very fortunate. We cannot understand it very readily, but we still recite it in hopes that one day we'll understand. A repetition of the same thing over and over again, and yet it's different. How can I understand? So hard that may even seem boring to us. What is this? Ekne vastu, same thing over and over again. But no, just because we cannot understand doesn't mean we shouldn't read it. We shouldn't get the mercy from it. See, so Antya Lila unveiled the measure of love, the Lord's own body, his words transfigured by Vipralamba Bhav, this separation, culminating in this Shikshashtakam. The drops became an ocean in which the Lord dived in every night. So, take-home principles. There are 5 principles in Chaitanya Charitamrita we should take home. The holy name is the path and the goal. Nam is the path and the goal. 2, wear humility like clothing. Lower than the straw in the street, more tolerant than tree. Practice it concretely. If there's an argument, you don't have to win every time. Yield. It's okay. Serve before speaking. Praise before proposing. Forgive before being asked. Wear humility like clothing. 3rd, choose service over sensation. Pre na dhanam na janam. Make decisions by asking what most increases Krishna's happiness, what most serves his devotees, what most glorifies his name, not my name. Fourth, live in Sangha. Keep Swarup, Damodar, and Ramananda Rai there in your life, or their counterparts. Wise friends. Find wise devotees like Swarup and Ramanand. They're always on the side of Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu is teaching us, you also find wise friends who will help you, who guard your night and guide your tastes. Engage in study groups, kirtan circles, honest mentors. Don't think we're above this. And the last one, let separation sweeten the presence. When Krishna seems very far, don't conclude that he's absent. No, let that be a stimulus for separation feeling. Let that ache ripen your hearing, let it deepen your chanting, your seva. Absence, when we offer it to the Lord, becomes a doorway to deeper presence. And the blessing, may the moon of Gaura rise in your home and set only to rise again at night. May the holy name become the music in your breath, the medicine for your mind, and the meeting place for your heart with Krishna. This is the blessing. May you feel the touch of Lord Nityananda's causeless mercy, the guidance of Advaita Acharya's call, the shelter of Rupa and Sanatan's teachings, and the watchful love of Swarup and Ramananda. Krishnadas Kaviraj ends, he says, the sky is without limit. Birds fly as high as they can, but we have only tasted a drop. Yet even a little drop of Gaurakatha is enough nectar to change our lives. So if you have heard with faith, your hearing itself is a service. Your service itself is your success. Let us chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Okay, we have 2 minutes to do the quiz. You want to do the quiz?
Yes.
Okay, let's do it. Chapter 11, which major event reveals Mahaprabhu's special affection for his devotees? Conversion of Prakashananda, disappearance of Haridas Thakur, Rath Yatra Kirtans, meeting of Rup Goswami. B, disappearance of Haridas Thakur. Haribol. Chapter 12 recounts Jagadananda Pandit breaking a pot of scented oil. What is the lesson of this episode? The need for opulent worship, strict temple ritual, renunciation, obedience to Mahaprabhu, the value of debate.
C.
C. Good. C. Let's see. Yes, that's correct. Haribol. He's saying Spanish. C. Okay. Why does Mahaprabhu bestow extraordinary mercy upon Kalidas in chapter 16? Because born in Brahmin family, his scholarship in Nyaya, his unwavering faith in honoring Vaishnavas by taking remnants, or his ascetic vows in the forest?
C.
C. Okay, let's see. All right. That's Mahaprasad. Right? What unusual body transformation does Lord exhibit in chapter 17 after crossing the walls at night? He becomes motionless like a pillar. He expands to a giant form. His limbs retract and he lies like a tortoise among the cows. His complexion turns golden white.
C.
C. That's right. Tortoise. Yes. C. C. Next one is not C, I'll tell you that. He's in the sea, but he's not C. He goes in the sea. His ocean pastime, chapter 18. Who finds Mahaprabhu? And what restores him? Hunter, fisherman, pilgrim, guard.
B.
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 See, I told you. Fisherman. Chapter 20. Which Shikshashtaka verse gives the mood that makes constant Nam Sankirtan easy and genuine? Na Danam Na Janam, Ainanda Tanuja, Yugayitam, or Trinadapi?
D.
That's correct. Because what is the end of Trinadapi Sunishana? How does the verse end? How does it end? Caitanya Sadahari. That's the thing. Constant, right? Caitanya Sadahari. So basically asking in English, which is Caitanya Sadahari verse? That's this one. Right? Answer is D. Thank you all very much. Thank you, dear viewers online, for staying all this time. This is the end of the whole series. May the Lord bless you with pure love of God. And my obeisances to all of you. And I want to thank you Hare Krishna, all of you too. I want to thank all of you for giving me the opportunity to serve you in this way. May Krishna, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, always reside in your hearts, in the innermost chambers, and bless you with pure love of God. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna.
So we'll see you
Thank you
around
so
next time.
much.
Thank you. We have devotees. Yes.
Shri Gaurnika will be so happy. This nectar
Yes.
of Chaitanya Charitamrita is served so nicely.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much for taking.
And we have
the time.
devotees from all over the world joining online. We have devotees from Africa and Europe and England. And my obeisance to all of you. May the Lord
San Diego.
flood you. And San Diego, yes, that's a whole nother country. San Diego is a whole nother country. Haribol. San Diego is very well represented.
Hare Krishna.
Hari Hari. We'll see you soon. Take care. Hare Krishna.